Welcome to the Side Action, episode 12 of season 7. My name is Jim Weglarz, aka Wegs. You can follow me on X and Instagram at Wegspool.
Nice. Well, we're getting so much better at these intros. And
Better.
I'm Coop. You can check me on Instagram at Dalton Cooper, on X at Mr. Grumpy Gills. We are the Side Action Pod. Make sure to check us on Instagram, Facebook, X, and TikTok, wherever you get your social media from. Give us a like, a follow. We will always appreciate it.
That's right. That's what I spend the rest of my Friday afternoon. I edit stuff and I try to find that funny little clip of us where we're laughing and
Nice.
you say funny stuff, right? Tell stupid stories. So,
Oh, man.
um,
Glad I'm good for some.
I mean, trust me, we're getting plenty of those bots that they love the videos. Those bots love
Hell
it.
yeah.
Like, hey, like, and I'm like, okay, I don't speak.
Yeah. They definitely don't love me for my football picks, that's for sure, because those suck. So I might as well be entertaining if I can't be, if I can't give good takes or good picks, I might as well be entertaining.
Likewise, pal. I mean, I'm gonna probably finish last in one of my fantasy leagues. That's been a tough one.
Oh, no.
We're definitely down in the picks this year. I mean, for 3 years, I have been like 57%, 58% in my one league, like the Pick'em league, and then we've done decent. This year, I'm like 48%. I am just sucking. So, hey, guess what? Coop, we got a whole second half basically going here. It's an 18-week season in the NFL. But anyway, let's get into your weekend last weekend. How was the chili cook-off, dude? How was the big chili? I saw that Lanham was out there too, so you had some stuff going on.
Oh, yeah, we had probably like 25, 30 people. So it was a good time. Yeah, we had 2 full teams for softball, so that's always a good time. Yes. We definitely missed the coach for organizational purposes and definitely for the scorebook purposes, because nobody really knew how to. I was more just more like into the eating and then occasionally playing. Like they put me out in left field, whatever. But yeah, I wasn't doing the scorebook at all. Courtney was looking at the scorebook going, what the hell is this? And I'm like, this is why we need Wegs. This is why we need the coach here to keep us all in line. The batting order was screwed up. So but it was a good time. Yeah, exactly. Yelling at people. We couldn't find a very good pitcher. So Caesar pitched for a little bit and then some other people tried it out. So, but no, it was a good time. It was a perfect day for it. It wasn't too hot. It wasn't too cold. It was like right in the 50s. So nice and sunny. But yeah, there was a giant Pokemon Go convention, by the way. There was like probably 250 people. Like, you know how the softball field is, right? And they have like that little building right there by the bathroom. There was probably like 200 people all just chilling there.
Cow.
Yeah, and they were like doing some like come to Jesus Pokemon Go meeting or something. They would all disperse and then they would all come back. And obviously I don't play Pokemon Go, and I'm not here to make fun or poke at anybody, but I was just like, what world's going on over here? Like just this big mass of people. So but that was a good time.
Is there something to it? Because I saw there was a Halloween party around Pokemon. I don't remember who hosted.
Oh, I think Bryce had a party. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't get invited, unfortunately. So, but yeah, I think they did a costume party, but it was Pokemon themed. So I think everybody dressed as a different one. So maybe next year, if they do like maybe a Digimon theme or maybe Sesame Street, maybe we should do a Sesame Street thing next year. That might be kind of fun. I've always wanted to be Beaker. So
Beaker. Okay, that's Muppet Show. I get it. So who would you say I would be in the Muppet Show or the Sesame Street universe? Who would you say?
Man, I think it depends on what day we get you. You're probably more of an Elmo kind of guy most of the time, but some days you could definitely be Oscar for sure. Yeah, I was gonna say some days you could definitely be Oscar. So, but no, I would definitely pick more of an up and beat character for sure.
Okay. I mean, I like Beaker. I like Beaker a lot.
Well, yeah. Last
how
about you?
It was pretty chill. I've tried to have some more chill weekends. My buddy Isaac Montes left on Thursday, as I told you last week. So the weekend was kind of like, what did I do Friday? I don't know if I did anything. Just went off, get a drink or something, and then check out my farmer's market. I'm a farmer's market guy.
Nice.
Going on the farmer's market, there's lots of things to look at.
Some fresh veggies,
It's fresh veggies and fruits. So that was fun. And then I found out there's a night market. Not in the same exact area, but in that neighborhood at Kaka'ako, which is a cool area. And it was jammed. I had a first date, I could have done without the first date, but it was, 2,000 of my closest friends in the streets up there. Just
holy shit.
Crowded as hell. You had to wait 40 minutes to get a smash burger or something like that. But it was kind of nice to see that kind of activation. They don't have a lot of street fests like in Chicago, so that kind of was a nice feel. The date was, it's okay. She was French. She was interesting. I just felt like I didn't need to be there. She was like just cutting through lines and going through stuff. Like I was like, you just want to let's walk around people, but okay. And it was fine. I'm not going to see her again. I mean, she was fine, but it was okay. Then we ended up playing. I played a little volleyball on Sunday after watching some games, and then
Nice.
we did Japanese barbecue, which is like Korean barbecue, same thing, but like all you can eat, cook it and stuff. Woo! I mean, these guys, like, I love these guys, but they're all younger than me. I mean, you'd love it. These dudes can put away the food, right? I mean, I
Oh yeah.
still can put away the food. The problem is it stays on the body. Not burn. I mean, I'm doing okay fitness wise, but we're just slamming whatever Wagyu this and whatever that.
Oh yeah.
We were eating, I don't know, 2 hours. I mean, it was all in was pretty good. I mean, the beer probably was a mistake. I don't really drink that anymore. It kind of fills you up, but in
Yeah.
the end, we had a good time with the fellas, and I like that time here. But making some good friends out here. So overall, pretty chill. And then the rest of the week was garbage, but that's just work.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah.
It's been
Right.
it's been raining here a lot too, which is funny. Rainy season a little bit. I decided to say, you know what? Because the first 2 days of the week, I'm like, well, I guess I'm not gonna. My normal thing is work out then swim, in the pool. And so the first 2 days, I'm like, it's kind of rainy, election, whatever. I'm like, Wednesday, I'm like, you know what? Hell or high water. So I did my workout and I was swimming in the rain, baby.
Oh yeah.
You're wet anyway. Who gives a
Yeah.
shit,
You might
right?
as well. Right. Exactly.
So today's a little bit similar, kind of misty, whatever. I'll work out sometime later this afternoon.
Hell
Get
yeah.
my work.
I always forget that it's like 11 a.m. when we're doing this your time. So
Yeah, it's 12:30. We didn't do the time change like you guys. So we're only 4 hours difference now. 4 hours. So
God, forgive me.
yeah. So who we put in the shed? Obviously, it was an eventful week in many respects. So who you got in the
Oh
shed
yeah.
this week?
Well, I think you were a couple weeks early on this guy, so I wanted to go
Yeah.
ahead and just, hammer it home and really put this one to bed. But Dennis Allen is the first taker in the shed this week. He made
Yes.
NFL history for a couple different reasons. One, he got fired on his day off, which is never a good thing. Secondly, he became the first NFL head coach in history to get fired from two different franchises, but having the same quarterback with both franchises, which I thought was hysterical. So when he was the coach with the Raiders, obviously Derek Carr was the starting quarterback, and now that he's fired with the Saints, again, dying on the sword of Derek Carr. So Dennis Allen, you're in the shed. I'm sure we'll get into the dead cat bounce here in a little bit. That's probably your favorite thing to talk about. I know that's a Wegs staple, if you will.
Yep.
So Dennis Allen's in there, and then I got to put Todd Bowles in there. The whole Monday nights scuttlebutt. I could, after kind of watching it, and I can kind of understand why he didn't go for two, but I'm really putting him in the shed for like his press conference afterwards, because he explained that the biggest reason why he didn't go for two was because of the weather. But his team literally just drove 75 yards in that weather to score the touchdown to begin with. So that reasoning didn't make any sense to me. I guess I could see, but to me, you got to go for the win. You're obviously the least talented team. You're in a position to really put all the pressure back on Kansas City, as opposed to leaving up to fate. Fate and football sometimes don't go hand in hand. Sometimes you got to stand on business and take control of what's going on. And I think granted, we probably could be having a different conversation if they do go for two, they get it. It's like Mahomes gets the ball, gets the field goal anyway, but at least I think you should have gone for it. So for that reason, Todd Bowles, I think you're in the shed. He might be up, Schitt's Creek too, because they might get hammered this weekend. We don't know. We'll see.
I thought that you were kind of making a joke, but I'm sure it's just a misspelling. I love how you put Todd Bowles instead of Todd Bowles.
Oh, it should be because it upset my bowels to watch him kick that extra point. Honestly,
good one. Touche. Well, for me, he's been a darling in some ways early in the season for the podcast, and now he's costing me money and things. Jordan Love, everybody's in love with you except when you throw the worst interceptions in the history of the game. I thought that Will Levis had the worst one this year. You've had two, sir, that have now granted, the first one they did beat the Rams miraculously, but the second one basically gave the game to the Lions. The game's tight, 10-3, end of the half. Okay, you got a groin pull. I get it. You're trying to get out of the pocket. Just throws it right to the guy. And touchdown. Now it's 17-3. Game's basically over at that point, which is kind of sad. But Jordan Love, sir, get in the shed, get yourself right. You're on the bye, so maybe you're gonna have to be in there for 2 weeks. Maybe your predecessor led some ayahuasca in there,
Nice.
Aaron Rodgers, so you can get yourself right. But my God, Coop, another terrible interception.
Yeah, no, and your darlings are I don't want to say they're suspect, but there's definitely some questions that we could have there. But granted, it's his health has always been a big question, at least a couple times this year. You could definitely tell when he has an injury leading into the next game. That's twice now where he's kind of laid a stinker. So
Yeah,
definitely watch that trend with him.
Leave Malik Willis in there. He's been fine. The other guy is, and I'm not going to call him my head coach because he wouldn't have been. I would have quit the team by now. But Matt Eberflus, we talked about it last week in the handicap. They're 3-18 on the road now as a head coach. Another terrible first half. They're not playing inspired football on the road. More importantly, did you know? You probably know this already. Of those 3-18, games, they're 0-18 on Sunday on the road. Those other games are on Thursday and Monday. How is that possible? Like, dude. And look, the Cardinals have had a surprise season. I'm impressed with them. But 29-9, please. Come on. You can't do anything against this team. So Eberflus, I am shocked he wasn't fired. My friends that we were texting during the game, I thought he would be fired at halftime. Didn't get fired somehow. And he's going to coach today. Now, they gets New England as a reprieve. So maybe he can bounce back in a win, but there is no way. I guess the Bears don't fire very often in season. That's the only thing, but
they've never fired a head coach in season.
It's idiocy. Fire the dude. And at least, did he not, he didn't fire Shane Waldron either. Like, this offense sucks. I don't understand it. So look, Matt, get in there, talk to Jordan Love. He can at least tell you how to throw the ball to another team. That's something. But get in shed and move on.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that everybody's coming out and talking like, oh my God, Caleb is regressing and X, Y, and Z. And yeah, I mean, it's just, you got to go back to 2021 to look for a Sunday road win for this organization. So you got to go back 3 years to find it. It's crazy.
That's insanity. So I didn't get a second entrant here for Club Dub. Let's switch it up. Let's get the dubs going. We're what are we eating dubs like Jameis Winston? We're gonna go with the other side of that game for me, Jared Goff. I mean, first of all, Jared Goff is like a reclamation guy. Like he was kind of down and out. He gets traded, obviously from the Rams to the Lions a while back, and Stafford wins the Super Bowl. You got to feel bad for the kid. I mean, he was number one pick in a draft and really, took a team to the Super Bowl. I never was overly impressed with him. But in Detroit, he's just been super solid. And I mean, he enters this game, he's terrible in outdoor games, supposedly, comes out with the gloves on, 2 gloves, and Jared 2 gloves, 11 for 11 in this game, played great. And they win the game. Obviously, we mentioned the interception, but they win the game outright 24-14. He played incredibly. And honestly, one of the handicaps against the Lions was Jared Goff going to this game, and it was against the pressure defense in Minnesota. He's just a sneaky MVP candidate. I mean, he's just played at an incredible level. So, Jared, get on in Club Dub. We've got a whole section for you. We've got gloves if you want to put them on. We've got hats and, different costumes, cosplay, whatever you're into, Jared, it's in there.
Oh, wow.
Get into Club Dub.
Yeah, I had no idea. We must have recently put that in Club Dub. I had no idea that the costumes were there.
Our primetime Murphy added some extra things around the Halloween. It just never left.
Okay. Wow. All right. Throw Art under the bus. All right. Well, inside my Club Dub, if you will, we have Demarcus Robinson. So Demarcus Robinson's the first man in, had 2 touchdown catches after Puka Nacua got thrown out for throwing a punch, which we'll talk about that, I'm sure, at some point. But he had the one-handed 39-yarder in overtime to seal the victory for my Los Angeles Rams. So that was pretty sick. And yeah, big game there. And then the other gentleman I have in Club Dub, even though they didn't win, is Drake May. He has been playing better. Each game, he's definitely gotten better. His mobility is something I really, I think is something that's starting to help him kind of separate himself and actually turn him more into a productive. He had like 9 carries for 81 yards against the Titans. So his legs are definitely something to look out for. But I'm curious to see him go against the Bears defense. He played, like I said, he played pretty well against Tennessee. I don't think he cost them that game, but I don't know if there's going to be a lot of times we could put Drake May in Club Dub this season. So I think now is probably the best and only time. So Drake May, get on in there, enjoy yourself.
Get on in there, rookie. Have yourself a time. Check out, talk to Jared. You don't have to dress up in costumes. That made Dalton feel. All right, well, let's go over the college picks last week. I mean, it's 50-50. I know you're not, whatever. You got to take your wins when you get them. Good call on Ohio State. We did talk about James Franklin, who still continues to be, what is he, like 1-19 or something against the top 5. He's the worst ever.
That's horrible.
Poor Penn State and Nittany Lions fans, but they were winning 10-0, and then they end up losing 20-13, which is kind of rolled into. So Ohio State's obviously primed to go undefeated here. Good job on that pick.
Thanks. It's like the only good one I gave. So
yeah, well, these weren't in your picks, but you did say Oregon would take care of business in the Big House, which they did. They won 38-17 and covered that number, pretty high number against the Wolverines. This is one that I kind of talked about last week. The Gamecocks, the Cocks, you can't beat the Cocks, baby. Got to watch out. They're tough. They crushed the Aggies 44-20, and they now there's no more undefeated teams in the SEC. So, that was not necessarily a surprising win, but I think the outcome of 44-20 is a little surprising.
Yeah, and South Carolina just took control of the game pretty early too, and they kept it rolling downhill. So did they switch quarterbacks? Am I thinking of the wrong? I'm thinking of Texas A&M was the one that switched quarterbacks. So they've been bouncing back and forth. So yeah, they finally ran out of luck because the previous week when we picked against them, I think it was LSU, right? Maybe LSU and Texas A&M, where like LSU was up and then they flipped the script. That was because of that quarterback change. So yeah, they might have some questions there for the Aggies. We'll see.
That's right. How about SMU? It's a team we don't talk about too much. Obviously, Miami is rolling through the ACC, but they're not really playing much defense. This SMU team can score, and I didn't get to see a lot of the game. I saw the fourth quarter, but they can run and pass. They got a mobile quarterback. They won 48-25 over Pitt, so covered easily in this one. Pitt was undefeated at the time, so SMU could be a legit challenger in the ACC in the playoff.
I don't know if I'd go that far. I still think there's only one team that's going to get in from the ACC. Unfortunately, it's going to be the conference champion. I don't know it's going to be Miami or Clemson. Clemson really took a big hit by losing last week, so I don't know. We'll see.
You did like the Qs, and they came in on this one. They beat Virginia Tech, and they got the cover 38-31. So nice work. The Qs is one of your teams that you should be wearing orange.
Kyle McCord, baby. Kyle McCord.
Right. That's right. A couple of the ones that didn't go so good. The Hoosiers. The Hoosiers did spot Sparty a pretty big number. It was like 10 points or 14 points early, or 10 points, I guess it was 10-0. And then they just destroyed them 47-10. I don't know what's going on. These Hoosiers are they're just kicking ass and taking names right now. So we'll see if they play better. They have a big game this week, in the next couple of weeks, but they took care of business against the Spartans.
Yeah, nothing to start this game, I think, too. So the fact that they were down out of the gate and responded with 40-something unanswered. So
yeah. And then UCLA, obviously this is a team that should go in. You should be in the shed when you pick against them, because the two times you picked against them, they have won the game outright. And they go and they beat how do they beat Nebraska on the road? I don't understand this. Nebraska has a great game at Ohio State, and just craps themselves at home. 27-20, they lose against the Bruins. So the Bruins have 2 wins against Rutgers, and now obviously against Nebraska.
Yep, not picking against UCLA anymore. They're kind of on the Bryce Young list, where they're just stay away. We don't put money on them or against them. We just leave them alone.
Yeah. So how about this week? We've got some big games. I only picked 4 big ones from the card. We've got Georgia at Ole Miss. Georgia's up to third-ranked team, 16th for Ole Miss. Georgia's 2.5-point favorite on the road, 55-point total. This is 2:30 p.m. Central Time. Can you only look to Georgia here, or do you think Jackson Dart can keep it close in this one?
I don't know. I go back and forth with this because I think this is kind of an elimination game for Ole Miss. I mean, honestly, it's my elimination game for both of them, but definitely more so for Ole Miss just because they don't really have that quality win. So this would be that quality win. If Jackson Dart's going to win the Heisman, he has to go out and play really well in this game, and Ole Miss has to win. But I just can't pick against Georgia. They, ever since they got beat by Alabama, but they were probably the better team from the second half on, and they obviously went to they have probably the most impressive win of the season, going to Texas and just putting it on the Longhorns. So I have a hard time picking against Georgia the rest of the season, I think.
Yeah. Michigan's at Indiana this week. Indiana's all the way up to the eighth ranked team. 14.5 point total, or 14.5 point spread at home for them, for the Hoosiers. 48.5 point total, also at 2:30 p.m. Central. So is this a potential stumbling block game for Indiana, or they just keep rolling until they play Ohio State next?
I don't think Michigan's got enough offensive firepower to win this game, but it is in my picks. I will tease that.
Okay.
So
There you go. There you go. We'll wait for a second there. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of a look ahead spot, even though Michigan's great. Normally, this is kind of a look ahead for Indiana for Ohio State. What about Army? They're in the top 25. They're playing at North Texas. Army's still undefeated, if I'm correct, and they're a 6 point favorite on the road. 63.5 point total. This is also at 2:30 p.m. Central. North Texas usually is a little frisky, as you like to say. Is this the one that Army can actually lose? No, that's another road favorite.
Yeah. I think just the physicality of Army is gonna be too much for North Texas. If anything, it's cool to see the Mean Green get some national airtime. I mean, they've got great color scheme, so. But outside of that, no, I just think Army's gonna be too much. I just, Conference USA versus the,
Right.
prepared for smash mouth football, in my opinion. So
Sure, you get punched in the mouth. Last one, Alabama at LSU. Alabama's a road favorite of 3 points in this one. 58.5 point total. This is at 6:30 p.m. Central. Alabama they kind of have bounced back the last couple of weeks, but LSU, they're playing pretty good. Did they have a bye last week after the Aggies win? So they might be ready for this one. So I don't know. What do you think in this one? You like LSU to defend the home field here?
No, I like Alabama. It's an elimination game, and if Kalen DeBoer wants to, I don't know, not be labeled a failure or get ran out of town, I think he's got to beat LSU. I think he has to make the playoff. I think for Alabama fans not to be up in arms, which I highly doubt they would fire him after 1 year, but just to have the fan base on his side, he has to make the playoff, and I think that means he has to win this game. So, and after the last 2 games of the season, they play like Auburn and they play maybe Missouri or some very lackluster SEC team. So this is like their last chance to really impress the committee and make a statement. So I think that's what they'll do.
Yeah, I think they did beat on Missouri a week or two ago, but yes, they have a lesser opponent. So what about this week? So you alluded to Michigan. What are the Coop picks for the week? You got 4 picks up there.
Yeah, so we're gonna ride with Clemson this week. Like I said earlier, they kind of got embarrassed last week, fell asleep at the wheel, if anything. They've been playing really well leading up to that. I'm gonna double down on Virginia Tech again. They just got beat by by Syracuse, so we're gonna double down there with Clemson at -6. Then we're gonna also take Fresno State. They're -10 against Air Force. I like the matchup here. The ball control of Fresno State, I think, is going to be an Air Force issue, or is going to be an issue for Air Force. So I like Fresno State there. Colorado is going to Texas Tech. I like Colorado at -4. Again, they're both finesse teams. I think it's going to be a really high scoring game, which I think always fits into the form of a run and gun style. So I think just, when you're going to get in a shootout, I think that always favors Colorado with the better quarterback.
Sure.
And then lastly, I'm going to lean Michigan for once. I'm finally leaning into Michigan. I would take the 14.5. I like the number more than anything. I think this is going to be a really low scoring game. I think the defensive tackles of Michigan are really going to cause some issues for Indiana. Indiana's probably still going to pull off the win just because they have more offensive firepower and, probably a little bit better scheme from that standpoint. But I think 14.5 is way too many. Like if I'd have told you coming into the season that Indiana was going to be 14.5 point favorites over Michigan, you would have looked at me like I was crazy. Yeah, yeah, exactly. So I'm going with that same logic, and I'm going to take the 14.5 that you're going to give me.
Yeah, it's rare that you have Michigan playing the spoiler at Indiana in football, right?
Yeah, right.
It's not really the role that they're used to playing, but we'll see what happens. Okay, I like those picks.
Yeah.
I'm gonna check out some of those tomorrow. Let's get on to the NFL. Week recap of we'll put this as week 9 here. So first of all, week 9 was look. It's been a weird year, Coop. This is one of the reasons why I'm not doing so good. Favorites are killing it, dude.
Hmm.
10-4-1 last week, just
Again.
massacring it. It's just,
Yeah.
and for the season, they're at 54.35%, which is making money. And I kind of do a little spreadsheet to figure all this out. But if you bet $110 on every single game this year, you would have won $1,000 by now, which is about 9 units. It's not a ton of money, so I don't want to take 1,000, but I mean, that's obviously a lot of outlay. But still, man, I'd take $1,000, in my bankroll doing that. And with the totals, they've more evened out. It's 7 and 8, over to under there. Overall, the overs are still winning though, 52.17%. That's closer to break even though, because when you start doing the math on the 110. So it's very rare in a season that the favorites dominate so much at this stage. Usually it's later. Early in the season there was a lot of underdogs we talked about, but now favorites are rolling, and it's just kind of hard, when you're trying to be me, Mr. Contrarian. That's why I'm getting crushed doing that. What are you gonna do?
What can you do?
So, of course, one of the favorites we did take that didn't cover was Buffalo. The Bills. Miami played good. They played really well. It was more to me that they couldn't stop Miami late. They had that advantage. They were up by 7 a couple different times in the fourth quarter. And really, they tied the game twice in the fourth quarter. Tua played well. You saw when he went for that run, too. I'm like, whoa, don't run, Tua. But he got that first down, and then dude, they played really good, dude. It's just they obviously gave a little bit too much time for the dude from Buffalo to kick like a 61-yarder.
Tyler Bass.
Yeah, Tyler Bass. That's like I think it's a history. I think it's the longest kick in their history, at least at home or something like that. So
It
Miami
was good
covers
for
the
like
number.
70. Yeah, that was a bomb that he hit. Yeah.
He crushed it. And then the Chargers we did like, or I don't know if you liked or not. I like the Chargers there. They did took care of business 27-10. Herbert finally broke out. He's had these games where he's thrown for 350 yards and no touchdowns. All of a sudden he had some touchdown passes. Quentin Johnson, hello, welcome back to the NFL. Like, hey, you actually had a good game. So they look like a team that's definitely rounding into form. I don't know if you think about that.
Yeah, and they have the best scoring defense in the league at just a little over, I think, 13 points a game. So if you're going to start buying into the Chargers, I think now's a good time to do it. So if you can get a future on, I don't know when they play Kansas City, but if you don't take the under that game, I think you're a fool. So we'll see.
You heard it. You're a fool. The Raiders we took, they did not get home. 41-24. The Bengals just kept scoring at will on them, and I'm not sure what happened there. What can you do? I mean, another bad pick. But the Raiders, and we tried to go with our proxy, which we haven't mentioned much on the show. Obviously my sister is technically the proxy, but my brother-in-law was always the proxy in the past. He's like a Raiders guy now. And I'm like, we finally took your goddamn Raiders. They didn't cover, so never again.
Yeah. Mike Gesicki went wild too. Yeah.
Oh my God, 2 touchdowns. I played against him in fantasy. So Tennessee, as you mentioned, New England played good enough to, we'll say, win the game. They went to overtime in this game. Tennessee did win in the end, 23-20, but they didn't cover the number. Thought they could just score the touchdown for Jimmy Wegs there, but they didn't get home. But they did play better as we expected. It's just they've got a lot of injuries coming in after this game.
Yeah, another team that probably should have gone for 2 when they scored at the end of the game. They could have won the game. So, yeah, just a lot of different. Like, what are they? I mean, they're like 1-6, right, or 2-6. Like, what are we playing for here? Just go for the win. Yeah, exactly. So,
get to lose. So Arizona, we already mentioned they destroyed the Bears 29-9. So good pick there. You were losing the gang. We mentioned the Green Bay game 24-14 for the Lions. So good for them. A lot of penalties. When I watched that game, of course I watched it intently. Look, Green Bay is the team that's supposed to play outdoors all the time. They dropped like 3 or 4 passes in critical situations. 6 passes.
6. They had 6. Yeah, I was looking into that.
Then they were they get in like the 30-yard line, get a penalty, take them out of field goal range. There's then obviously the poor interception. If you look at the box score, you're like, wait, what the hell happened here? How did they only score 14 points? They moved the ball all over the place. They just couldn't get in there. And that's when Detroit, they caught everything. I mean, we talked about 11 for 11, but they were catching tough passes. Let's get some gloves on, Green Bay.
Yeah, and you mentioned Jared Goff. He is, I think he's like 32 of his last 32 passes when targeting Amon-Ra St. Brown or something like that. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, the man hasn't dropped a pass in so long. But the other thing, too, I noticed is like Green Bay completely abandoned the run game, which was actually working really well. And they just completely left it alone. So I'm sure Matt LaFleur will go back in and take a look at it and hopefully adjust. But yeah, I thought that was the big takeaway for me was they were controlling the line of scrimmage against a team that controls the line of scrimmage against everybody else. So
I know. And Amon-Ra St. Brown, he's been lifting weights since he was like 4 years old. You see those videos of him and his brother and his dad. His dad was having him lift weights like really young. Dude's got vice grips, baby.
Yeah.
You mentioned your team, the Rams, obviously winning the game. They're down 13-3 against Seattle, and then they kind of roared back. Seattle was able to. I thought Seattle was going to win the game in overtime. They go to overtime. They're moving the ball at will. Then they get stuffed on 4th and 1. Actually, it was more like 2nd and 1, 3rd and 1, 4th and 1. They got stuffed 3 times in a row, and that's kind of what won the game. And then obviously Stafford made the big play.
Yep.
Watch out for those Rams, huh?
Yeah. Future money is looking good, baby.
Lastly, the Vikings. This was a kind of a sneaky. The Vikings did cover. They won 21-13. It was kind of a ho-hum game. It was closer than I guess the score was indicated here. The Colts should have. I mean, whatever. A couple bad stall out drives, and but I don't know. But anyway, good job on the pick.
Yeah, this game was so astounding to me after looking into it too, because Shane Steichen literally lost this game for the Colts. If you look at, like, he switched quarterbacks and they ran the ball more, which makes no sense. Like, why would you switch quarterbacks if you were just going to hand the ball off more? Like, Anthony Richardson can hand the ball off. Like, so that's the one thing that didn't make any sense to me, is that they had like the 5th most rushing attempts like this past week, and they had like the 32nd lowest EPA. So they were like the worst team in efficiency on running, and all they did was run the ball. So it made no sense to me. I just feel like big brain play, like he outthought himself. I think Shane Steichen did. So hopefully
let the man chuck it. Let Flacco chuck it.
Yeah.
All right. So for this week, for week 10, NFL, we've got the Packers, Browns, Raiders, and Seahawks on bye. Last night, I kind of alluded to this. So first of all, as I said, I'm doing terribly in the one fantasy. I picked up Khalil Herbert and played him. They picked him up. He's going to play. He's active. He didn't even. He didn't get a.
Oh, that's right. Well, the fumble didn't count. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Fumble didn't count. But as you noted, Joey Burrow. Like, I mean, look, they're not going to make the playoffs. I don't think. I don't know if it's possible. It's probably still possible.
Ooh.
Well, they're 2-7, right? Or 3-6.
They're 3. Yeah, they're 3-6.
3-6. Look, maybe they'll make the playoffs still, but it's an uphill battle now. They're definitely not going to win the division. And to your point, they did go for 2 on the last play and probably should have had a penalty called, but they didn't. And they lose 35-34. So tough one. They've lost 2 tough games to Baltimore. I want to go over your question, though. You have a question here for the fans.
Yeah, I do. So this is, I heard this stat today, and I thought it was really interesting because you would think you can get, kind of the first ones off the bat, but there are 3 current wide receivers actively that have 3 games of 200 yards or more. Can you name them?
Yeah, I mean, I obviously it's Jamar Chase, and he's obviously the leader. Why you name the question. So now it's the other 2. I'm sure I don't know all 3 because my guesses were Jefferson and Lamb, but it's probably not right. So
no, those are both incorrect. So the other name you're looking for is Tyreek Hill.
Oh, and I figured, but
3.
Damn, man.
Yeah. And then
year?
The one name, I think he's had 2 with the Dolphins, and he had 1 with the Chiefs.
Oh, okay.
So in his career,
okay. I thought I thought it was this year. Okay, my bad.
No, for their career.
Okay, I would have guessed Hill for sure.
Oh, gotcha. And then the other player, which was the one that caught me off guard, was Amari Cooper. So he had that big game with the Browns last year against the Texans.
Sure.
He had a big game with the Cowboys, and then I think he's had one with the Raiders as well. So, yeah, well-seasoned veteran. You forget he's only like 29 years old or something like that too. Like, it feels like he's been in the league forever. But yeah, I just thought that was so interesting. A very interesting stat.
Good stat. I misunderstood. I would have definitely guessed Hill. I wouldn't have gotten it. Sure. So let's talk about. There's a game in Munich. I mean, are they going to wear lederhosen over there?
Oh my God.
8:30 in the morning.
I feel bad for those people.
4:30 a.m. Hawaiian time. The Giants are a robust 6.5 point favorite here in this neutral site game, 40.5 point total against Carolina. We know Bryce Young, I guess, is still starting, so that's probably part of it. The Giants didn't play great. Actually, they played Washington, didn't cover the number. They came all the way back though, had a chance to kind of actually get back in that game. So maybe that second half was something because they were getting housed in that game. It's like 27-7 or something. Um, so 6.5, I can't. I mean, this is the classic Jimmy Wegg stay away. You think the Giants are going to cover 6.5 points? Forget it, dude. I mean, Carolina sucks, but give me a break. What do
No,
you
I'd
got?
feel good about the under, and then that's about the only thing I would take in this game is the under. I just feel so bad for the people of Germany because we have 32 teams in this league, and the best matchup we can send them is Daniel Jones against Bryce Young. So here's a nice big middle finger to every Germany fan of the NFL, basically.
Exactly. Free pretzels for everybody. Other than that,
Yeah,
good God, I mean, good luck with that one.
God,
So I don't know
yeah.
exactly. I'm not sure why they even would have highlighted this game. Like, I guess maybe they thought Bryce Young, maybe they did this 2 years ago or something. And they thought this game. I don't know.
I don't
Okay,
know.
so the next game on the regular slate, you've got the Patriots at the Bears. The Bears are also a 6.5 point favorite, 30.5 point total. My biggest thing with this one, the Bears have beaten on bad opponents. This is a New England team that's not so great. Drake May, as you mentioned, is playing pretty good, but the defense is decent for the Bears if they're inspired. Earlier in the week, I was all over the Bears. I just can't back them right now. I don't know what's going to happen. So it's Bears or pass here. Eberflus, I guess they won't fire him, but they'll let him like eke out the season and lose their last like 6 games. This is like the last easy game on the Bears schedule.
Yeah, and I'm curious to like I had the thought the other day is like, what if they trade DJ Moore for somebody? I don't know. Obviously, it can't happen now with the trade deadline being gone, but I mean, I was saying it 2 or 3 weeks ago after Keenan Allen had his 2 touchdown reception game is like you need to trade a wide receiver for future draft because this
Yeah,
this offensive line is it's that bad. Like when
sure.
the Cardinals are killing you and you can't name one pass rusher for the Cardinals, we have a
Nope.
serious problem. Like a serious problem. So to your point, I actually feel really good about the under in this game too, even though it opened at like 40 and now it's down to 38.5. I'd still
Sure.
take that under. I think this is a 17-10 game. This game is going to look like the Bengals and Patriots, I think week 1. I think it's going to be a really ugly, it's going to be a rock fight basically. So
Hmm.
I think to you, if to your point, if I'm going to take the under and I would take the points with the Pats, I'd take the value,
Yeah.
even though
Okay.
like to your point, the Bears have beaten up on bad teams, especially at home.
Yes.
So I think this team might be coming apart at the seams.
Oh
I
yeah.
think they're starting to lose their way.
Well, you saw the play where DJ Moore like just walked off the
Yeah,
field and
it's
sat on the bench, and
yeah,
I don't know. They haven't even said that if he was hurt or not. They interviewed DJ Moore. They're like, "Hey, has he lost the locker room?" He's like, "I'm not going to say no." Like,
yeah,
oops. So this is where I guess okay, you're not going to fire a guy in season. I mean, it's a lot like this is a little before your time, the old Tressman era, where they were pretty good the first year, and the second year they just tanked. He lost the locker room, everybody hated him, and then he was out. So anyway.
it might be the
Let's
best
go
thing
to the
for them.
Yeah, let's go to the next game. We've got Buffalo at Indy. So the Colts are a 4 point dog at home, 46.5 point total. Okay, initially I'm like, the Bills are a really good offense. They beat up on lesser teams, but here's the thing. Is there such thing as a sandwich spot in the NFL? There could be. They just beat the Dolphins, obviously in overtime or almost overtime, late game there. And then they play the Chiefs next week, so probably a little look ahead. I like the Colts here, man, plus the 4, mainly because I think the Colts off defense is a little bit better than they've been. And the
Mhm.
Bills just seem to be, look, they're good. They're still one of the best teams in the NFL, but 4 points road, I don't know. I think I'd take Colts
Yeah, I think this is going to be our most boring podcast because we're going to agree on a lot. I was looking at our picks earlier, and I was like, "Son of a bitch!" Like I don't look at your picks when I do my picks, and then I did all my picks, and I looked at your picks. And I
here.
was like, "Damn it, we're like
A
matching on half of
nutcracker.
these." Yeah,
Yeah.
but no, I'm with you. I love the Colts here. This is my second favorite game of the week. So this would be the what 200.5 game of the week, 200.5K game of the week if we had to pick one. Um,
401k and half. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So I like the Colts here for a couple different reasons. One, to your point, the sandwich structure. It could be a good look ahead spot against Kansas City. The other thing is too, they have 3 or 4 wide receivers listed on their injury report So I don't know if they're going to be out, those 2 or 3 guys. And another thing, they can't stop the run. The Bills are really bad at stopping the run. You saw it last week with Miami. Miami could kind of, run the ball whenever. The Colts have Jonathan Taylor. So if they're going to keep leaning into a run heavy first offense, I think that doesn't bode very well for the Bills. And the Colts have to win this game if they're going to have any intention of making the playoffs. So I think they're the more desperate team coming into this game, playing at home. I would take the 4. I like that number.
Yeah, good number. Okay, how about Minnesota at Jacksonville? Jacksonville is a 7-point dog at home, 43.5 or 43-point total. Interesting situation here. First of all, Jacksonville was Jacksonville things. They actually had a chance to beat Philly last week, which was hilarious. Mm-hmm. But secondly, Lawrence looks like he has a shoulder injury. I don't know if it's official he's out or not. Yeah. Mac Jones is actually going to start if he doesn't start. And this line was like 4.5 for Minnesota, and I really liked it. And then it shoots up to 7 now. So I don't love Minnesota on the road at the 7. Of course, I'm not sure what to expect with Mac Jones, but it's a tough situation. Minnesota, they have good receivers. Jacksonville plays a lot of man-to-man, so Jefferson's going to have a good game. But they haven't quite been the same as the first few games of the year in terms of Minnesota dominating teams. So it's kind of a Jacksonville or pass side for me. I don't know about you.
Oh no, actually, I like the Vikings here. I just think their blitzing and the defensive pressure is going to get to Mac Jones. Mac Jones has never handled the blitz well in his career, whether it was New England or whether sitting on the bench. He doesn't even handle the blitz well on the bench. So no, I just think for that reason. And I think the run game, I think Minnesota can control the line of scrimmage well. They're going to have the time of possession. I think it's just going to put Jacksonville at kind of the one-dimensional realm, and I don't think that works well for them at all. So I would take the Vikings here. I'd feel comfortable swallowing the points.
Okay, even at the 7. Okay, swallowing the points. That sounds weird. Anyway, okay, so then how about the Chiefs are hosting Denver? 8.5-point favorites at home. The market is 8, but the contest line is 8.5. 41.5-point total. This is actually a rare noon game for the Chiefs. Feels like they've been on primetime like every goddamn week. So 4 o'clock. So, early in the week, this was like 9.5. I love Denver at that number. It's now come down to 8, probably where it needs to be. So I'm okay passing on the side, but I do have Denver as like my 6th best pick of the week because I just think it's too many points. I like the Chiefs a lot. Defense is great. But you see sometimes when they cover those 2-score games, 8 points is right on that 2 score. So it's like 1 score with the 2-point conversion or 8.5. So in the contest, I do like the 8.5.
No, I'm with you. Shortened week. Even though they did get embarrassed against Baltimore, I always like those teams to have a bounce back spot, especially when Bo Nix obviously isn't a superstar, but he's very serviceable. He's definitely, you could see the progression being made. He's making those steps. He's got a good offensive head coach. I just think, to your point, 8.5 is too many. This is more like a 5 or a 6er to me.
Right, exactly. Look, we're agreeing. This is weird. Bizarre.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's going to be our worst podcast because we're just going to agree on everything.
Good luck. You're gonna go 0-5 this week. So let's go with Atlanta at New Orleans. Atlanta's a 3.5-point favorite on the road, 46.5-point total. You've already mentioned it. I love the DCB or the dead cat bounce, baby. New Orleans put the special teams coach in for Dennis Allen, which, hey, they got rid of Lattimore on defense. I'm not going to say that their defense is going to play great. These teams played early in the season, and the Saints dominated them. They just lost the game somehow. So I like the Saints. I think they're going to win the game outright. So I'm all over. This is my number 1 pick of the week.
Yeah, I was gonna say I hate picking this game. I think if you're gonna pick the game, you're gonna have to take the hook. But I would feel much better just taking the over and watching the game myself.
Sure.
Both, Atlanta doesn't get any pressure on the quarterback. New Orleans is really bad on defense as far as like a yardage per game standpoint. They're like 2nd or 3rd worst in the league. So I think this is just gonna be a high scoring game, similar to like when the Falcons and Bucks play. I would take the over and watch the touchdowns happen. Yeah.
Yeah, but just start all your fantasy players in this game, except Chris Olave, who had another concussion, which I'm sorry, Chris. I hope you get
that's better. And that's all on Derek Carr, by the way. I'm with Michael Thomas. I think that's completely on the quarterback. I read through that whole Twitter feed that he had going, or whole X kind of thread, and I was like, you know what? He's got a point. This man has a point. I never thought of it that way, never looked at it, but now that I've been enlightened, I think I agree with him.
Yeah, watch the play. It's not good. Don't throw that ball.
Yeah. No.
Okay, so and then San Francisco goes to Tampa. They're coming off the bye. San Francisco's a 6-point favorite on the road, 50.5 point total. Is it official that McCaffrey's playing or
Yeah,
not? You know
yeah,
this.
he's gonna
Okay,
play.
thank
He's
God. He's
probably
on
on
a
a pitch
pitch count.
count. Yeah, I was gonna
Pitch
say
count.
he's definitely on a PC.
But sometimes he's actually good on a pitch count. I remember even like a couple years ago when he's on a pitch count. Yeah, he gets the ball 12 times. Awesome, 3 touchdowns. I mean, the guy's fresh. So I like that. Debo, is he going to play this week? You know?
As far as I know, he's supposed to.
Yeah. So one of the things that Tampa has been one of those teams that we talked about it, early in the year we liked them. Their defense has not performed, but their offense has been great, even without Godwin and Evans. But I think it's going to be a rough week for them. I do think San Francisco is going to come out running and gunning, and they're going to be ready for the second half. 6 points in the contest, 6.5 for the market. I'm all over this pick for San Francisco minus the 6.
Yeah, I think you can tease this one up if you really are feeling frisky. I think this feels very similar to like last year when the Niners were coming off a bye and they went to Jacksonville, who was like 7-2 at that point.
Yes.
And everybody remembers this game because that was the game where like Debo and all the guys were like dancing in the tunnel with like the big ass boombox, and then they just went out and ran, just pumped their shit. So I
Yeah.
think this is the same spot. There's a 7-day rest advantage in favor of the Niners, and I think that's
Yep.
going to pay huge dividends for an older team. They're just going to come out and pummel them. Yeah, I don't see how the Buccaneers could have any chance in this game whatsoever because there's no way Kate Otton's going to just all of a sudden lead them to the promised land, and they're not going to be able to run the football because they don't run the ball to begin with. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think you take the Niners here and you hammer them. You could tease it up to 10 or 13, I think, if you want.
One of the stats or I guess narrative things that I heard this week too with Tampa, you might say to yourself, well, Tampa played great against the Chiefs last week. They scored a lot, but it was a lot of running back dump offs, Kate Otten. I mean, San Francisco's got better linebackers, right? They're going to cover those plays a lot better. You've got to hit them on the outside, not that way, or run the ball, and they just don't do it. So.
Yeah. Oh, and back to your dead cat bounce special, by the way, since I think it was since 2020 or maybe it was all time. But 18, I think the teams firing their head coach the next week are 18-22 straight up. So that goes really well against the ATS even. So just keep that in mind. Keep that in
That's
mind.
right. Keep it in mind. Okay, so then the last in the early window, Pittsburgh at Washington. The market is 3-point favorites for Washington. This contest is 2.5, 45-point total. Now, Washington did trade for Marshawn Lattimore, so that's pretty exciting. Pittsburgh actually got Preston Smith, so another pass rusher for them. Look, I love this game. This is an exciting game. I'm glad they put this on the card. And maybe at the beginning of the season, we didn't think it was going to be that competitive. Washington's been my darlings, and I've been trying to fade them week over week. I'm going to fade them one more time. Please forgive me, Jaden Daniels, but I do love the 3 better than the 2.5. 2.5's not as good of a number, obviously, in the NFL, but I do think the defense for the Steelers will play very well, and that's the best defense that Washington's faced all year. And I think this is the time that I'm not going to say he has a tough game because he's played great all year, but I think Pittsburgh's going to go in, play great defense, and at least cover the number. I think they're going to win the game outright.
Yeah, you hit the nail right on the head. Pittsburgh, outside of the Bears, the Washington has played every other defensive team that is like 20th or lower efficiency throughout the league. So they really haven't been tested outside of Chicago, and they did struggle. It literally took a miracle for them to beat the Bears. So
Yep.
I'm with you. I think if you can get 3, take 3. But if you can't get 3, I would just take the money line and just run with the Steelers at that point. So they're coming off the rest advantage. I think Mike Tomlin is 26-6 in his career against rookie. So I just you got to take the Steelers here. So Russell Wilson's been playing better. I think you just take them.
Yeah, and I mean it's a better role for Mike Tomlin, right? The underdog role.
Yeah,
They always play better as the underdogs.
yeah, and Brian and Gunshot's not going to play, so that definitely I think
Oh,
affects their running game a little bit. So
there you go. And so the 3 o'clock window, the late window Central Time, you've got Tennessee going to the Chargers. In the contest, the Chargers are 7-point favorites at home, 39-point total. It's 7.5 in the market. Look, we talked about the Chargers. They're a team that's ascending offensively. They finally kind of really scored some points last week, but it's more the Titans are a little banged up. I think that I don't even not sure who's going to start quarterback right here. They may be getting back Tajay Spears here. Pollard ran very well last week, but I think the Chargers at 7 is a great number. 7.5, I might take some pause, which is the market, but in the contest, I'm all over the Chargers minus the 7.
No, I'm with you. I think you take the Chargers and you hammer the under. I don't know if the Titans are even going to score in this game. Like I said earlier, the Chargers have the number one scoring defense in the league, a little over 13 points a game. So they've played, I think, right in the middle of like strength of schedule. So it's not like it's a big fluke. It's not like they're playing Mac Jones every week, if you will. So yeah, I like their ball control as well. I think they'll be able to run the ball a lot on Tennessee, and that's just going to make it easier for Herbert to play action and cover this number, I think.
Great. Okay, so then we've got Philadelphia, Dallas. Of course, this was supposed to be a marquee game, but now you've got Dallas as a 7.5-point dog at home, 43.5-point total. Dak is on the IR. Cooper Rush is in to start. They did pick up Jonathan Mingo. Don't know why, because he couldn't play for the Carolina Panthers at receiver. It's a tough one. You mentioned obviously early in the season, Dallas is going to have a bad year. It's coming to fruition. Big Mike, I mean, he's definitely on the chopping block. I don't know when they're going to fire him, but it's close. Is this somehow is the Cooper Rush, and Cooper Rush is not a bad quarterback. I think he's fine. The problem is their defense sucks. So 7.5 points, it's a tough number for a divisional game and divisional road favorite. So that I guess you'd go for Dallas with the points, but I can't say that with good conscience right now. So Philadelphia or pass.
No, I'm gonna say I would take Philly too. When Vic Fangio was asked how the defense is going to adjust with Dak Prescott being out and Cooper Rush being in, he said they're not going to adjust their defense hardly any. So I think that just tells you everything how they feel about Dallas. So yeah, I would take Philly here. Dallas hasn't been able to stop anybody running the football, and Saquon Barkley's coming to town. So there's no way you're going to tell me they're going to shut down Saquon. So yeah, no, give me the Eagles. Jalen Hurts has been playing really well too last couple games, throwing the ball and running the ball. So I think the Eagles are starting to get everything right.
Yeah, we failed to mention the Saquon Barkley jump, split
hurdle,
jump
yeah.
that was reverse split jump that I almost tried the other day and threw my back out. So
Okay.
Saquon just face forward just in case. I want you to stay
Oh
healthy.
man.
Jets at Arizona. There's only 3 games in the late window this week.
I hate when they do that to us.
The Jets at Arizona. Arizona was the favorite to start. They were like a 1-point short favorite against the Jets, 46.5-point total. Now it's all the way flipped to the Jets, a 1.5-point favorites on the road. So we call a steam move, right? Somebody put big money to put it on the Jets. It's interesting. Everybody I've heard, at least all of my people I listen to, they love the Jets, and I was on them too. I like them as a dog, though. I mean, I guess it's 1.5 points. Maybe it doesn't matter, but something hinky here. So I decided to pull this off the card. Originally, I had the Jets in there +1. Now I'm like, I don't know. Do I trust the Jets? Yeah, they probably will score some points in this game, but the defense hasn't been as good as I thought they'd be.
Yeah, no, the only thing that really gives me hesitation here is James Conner was listed as questionable. So I think if the Cardinals are missing him, I think you do have to hammer the Jets. This would be a stay away game for me though, because I don't know what Cardinals defense you're going to get. Are you going to get the one that gets 8 sacks? Because if they could sack Aaron Rodgers 4 to 5 times, I think
Sure.
that definitely, I could definitely see them winning this game. But I could also see Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson having big days against this defense also. So I would stay away, maybe take the over just because both defenses have been suspect at times for majority. So yeah, no, this is my Jim Wake stay away spot.
Tomas. So the Sunday night game, you've got Detroit at Houston.
Yeah.
Detroit's a 3.5-point favorite, 49-point total on Sunday Night Football. Detroit did trade for Zadarius Smith from Cleveland, so that adds a little bit of pass rush. It certainly doesn't replace Hutchinson there, but you have noticed even though they beat Green Bay, they're giving up like 6.5 yards of play, which is too high. So they do need to get some more pass rush. Is Nico Collins going to play for Houston? That's the only thing I need to know. That'll tell me my handicap right now. Do you know if Nico's going to play or is he still?
He hasn't practiced all week, so
yeah, he ain't going to play. So it's just tough. I want to back Houston in the spot with this number, but Detroit they're really good. They're a good football team. They're coached well. They play good offense, and I think they're going to score on a tough defense. But so I know you're going to probably take Houston this one, huh?
Well, the more I read about it today, Will Anderson hasn't been practicing either. So this was supposed to be the game that Nico Collins was supposed to return
Yes,
for,
of
and Will
course.
Anderson is not practicing either. So the more I read into it, the more I want to go Lions.
Yeah.
If it gets up to about 6 or 6.5, I think that's when you get to
Oh,
Houston. But I think
sure.
until that point, you got to take Detroit. Yeah, I might be wavering on this pick. Honestly, I had Houston early in the week I think I got him at 4.5 or 5. Um, and I think that's where you can get them. That's where you should get. That's where the value is. Outside of that, you have to take
Yeah.
the Lions. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the value is Houston. They're home 3.5. It's a good number. You got to figure CJ Stroud's going to play better, but if he doesn't have Nico, and Mixon can get up a good game here against Detroit for sure. But
Yeah,
is
who's
that
going to
enough?
catch the ball? Yeah, Dalton
Yeah.
Schultz, is he going to have 100 yards in like a touchdown? No, there's no way, right? So yeah, I
No,
just have a hard time with that.
I hear you. In the last game, we know you're already fins out. You've got Miami at the Rams. Rams are 1.5 point favorites in this one. It's kind of interesting. I thought there was a move. Maybe I misread this. That the move was. I thought it was. Maybe I misread this. Maybe the Rams were a 2.5 point favorite. It's come all the way down to the market is one for the
Mhm.
Rams right now. So I'm not sure where that move is coming from because we all know that America's back in the Rams like Coop here. And I mean, there's not really a home field advantage with the Rams, but they're playing really good football. And when they have the receivers, they usually can do it. So what's the move? Why is there a move towards the Finns? Because they're in a must-win situation.
I guess I don't know if it's like a coaching matchup too, just because. But McVay owned Shanahan all those and
Mhm.
still continues to own Shanahan. So
Yeah,
I think the value is with LA just because I think you're getting the healthier team. The Dolphins are still a little banged up. We don't know if Seitler's going to play. He's had an orbital fracture. He's like the Dolphins' #1 defensive lineman when it comes to stopping the run, and all
right.
they've been doing is getting gashed. So I have a hard time believing that Miami's going to win. And Tyreek Hill just popped up as questionable on the injury report today.
Ooh,
So yeah, I think all the values with the Rams. I think the Rams are more in a sense of urgency mode more than the Dolphins, and I think that's going to play out well on
yeah.
Monday.
I mean, and they've won. Have good football, and it was an overtime game, so it
Yeah.
was pushed. Miami had a big game too. I don't know, man. It's this one I'm just gonna watch comfortably from the old couch when I finally get home from work. By the time I get home, but so it's a weird game. Weird game. Definitely don't like that line move. So I was back in Rams early, and I'm like, feel a little squeamish about it. So they didn't make my top. Well, this week I like New Orleans dead cat bounce plus 3.5, San Francisco minus the 6, Pittsburgh plus 2.5 in the contest or plus 3 in the market. Indy plus the 4, Chargers minus the 7, and if you have to pick another pick, I do Denver plus 8.5 as a sixth pick. So you listen to action. That's the other one. What about yourself?
I have Indy at +4. I'm changing from Houston. I'm going to Detroit. I'm taking Detroit minus the
Okay.
3.5. I'm going to
Okay.
take the Chargers at -7, the Niners at -5.5, and then I'm going to ride with the Broncos. I'm going to Broncos country. So I'm gonna ride with them this week.
I kind of wish the game was in Denver because my dad was saying that they got 30
We're
inches
supposed
of
to get
snow over the
snow.
last
Yeah,
3
yeah,
days.
yeah.
Yeah. So they won't be in Kansas City. But yeah, that would have been awesome. Little white, early snowstorm. You've seen those
Actually,
crazy ones in Denver. Yeah, yeah. So
yeah,
uh
yeah. Jordan's out
just a
there right
couple
now
content.
for work. He was talking about getting snowed in.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Hopefully gets home. Um, so just, people were just like, you guys aren't in Survivor. We don't care. I just like to report out. There were, there were 40 knockouts last week, because of, a game. So 151 left to get the big cash. And then, we went 2-3 again. What are you going to say? But there's a new quarter, Coop. New quarter. It's a 4-week quarter. This is when we shine. Let's give, if we go 5-0, we're going to try for the next quarter, win some cash. So there you have it. What about your weekend? It looks like you play a little poker.
Oh yeah, we have a poker night tomorrow night. Ivan reached out and got it all set up. So I think there's 8 or 10 of us that are gonna play
Ooh,
it. Ironically, he lives in Edgewater, so maybe I can
yeah.
pass by the old Edgewater Studios, and give a little shout out.
See if
So
Nicole's home. See what's happening.
yeah, yeah, right. See how
Roger the cat.
and then we have Friendsgiving on Sunday. Yeah, exactly. And then we have a Friendsgiving on Sunday. So
At Steph's.
all the food, all the football. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. If I missed those
So
things, I'll see you guys soon enough.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna have a little pool and grill party over here at the
Nice.
at the
Oh yeah.
residence here, not necessarily in here, but there's a nice pool deck. Got, I don't know, 8 or 10 people coming by, and little pool, reserve the grill space. Got to go get some meat tomorrow and maybe hit stuff in the farmer's market. I'm a farmer's market guy. So that'll be exciting. And then I'll probably just watch some football on Sunday and take it easy, maybe get down to the beach. So pretty laid back weekend, then having a visitor next week. So that'll be fun. And
Oh yeah.
after this weekend, I have 3 straight weeks of visitors, and then I'll be home. It's kind of pretty straightforward.
There it is. There it is.
Exactly.
You got it planned out. You're ready to rock. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, hey everybody, we'll follow us at Side Action Pod on X and Side Action Podcast on Instagram. Don't forget about TikTok. We're on there. Follow me on X and Instagram at Wegspool.
And I'm Coop. You can check me on Instagram at Dalton Cooper, on X at Mr. Grumpy Gills. Again, we are the Side Action Podcast. Make sure you give us a like, follow, subscribe wherever you get your pod, all that social media stuff. And like Weg said, don't forget about TikTok. We'll come find you. So, yeah, no, absolutely. Have a good weekend. Look forward to it. Hopefully we get some winners. I'm tired of this losing crap. Really tired of it.
Exactly. We want to get back in Club Dub as a whole group here. So
yes, the whole Side Action Podcast. Hopefully.
All right. Have a great weekend, everybody.